Well, welcome to A Century of Service. It's a podcast of United Way of the Midlands where we are celebrating our centennial year. And since 1925, United Way of the Midlands has been bringing people together, bringing organizations together, bringing the community together to create permanent and lasting change. I'm Sara Fawcett. I am President and CEO of United Way of the Midlands. And today I am so excited to have two professionals here with me. We did not have to do any prep for this at all, and it may show later on in the podcast. But I have the Voice of the Gamecocks, Todd Ellis and Tommy Suggs, with us today, and I want to thank you both so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I think everyone knows a lot about him, but just to give you a little bit of background, Todd Ellis is a 1989 graduate of USC with a bachelor's degree in history and was a 4-year letterman in football. He threw for 9,956 yards and was South Carolina's all-time winningest quarterback until 2013 when Connor Shaw came along. He received his Juris Doctor in May of 1995 and is now a member of the North and South Carolina bars and has his own law practice, the Law Office of Todd Ellis. And Todd provides services for clients needing litigation counsel, including business litigation and personal injury matters. Todd was named Voice of the Gamecock football in 2003 by Learfield and USC, serving as the play-by-play announcer. So thank you for being here, Todd.
Thank you.
And Tommy Suggs is the chairman of the Carolinas, chairman emeritus. No, chairman. Sorry. They'll cut this out. Tommy Suggs is chairman of the Carolinas region of Hub International, the 5th largest global insurance brokerage firm. Tommy graduated from the USC Darla School of Business with a bachelor's degree in business administration. And Tommy was the 3-year starting quarterback for the University of South Carolina and was named most valuable player in 1970, his senior year. He quarterbacked the 1969 ACC championship team. He is also a graduate of the School of Banking of the South at Louisiana State University, the National Commercial Lending Graduate School at the University of Oklahoma, and the Wharton School of Business Executive Education Program at the University of Pennsylvania. He has been a Gamecocks color announcer for more than 50 years. Tommy, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you.
So I want to start out with a question for you guys. Tell me about the time that you first met each other, and what was your first impression of each other?
I can say my memory of Tommy initially
He's
was...
short.
I said, that guy played quarterback here? Not at all. I knew him because even in the days when I started in 1986 when I was playing, Tommy was already a legend as a color analyst at South Carolina, working with the legendary Bob Fulton. So between his work on the broadcast, traveling with the team and being around us, we had met each other during that time frame as well. And then I specifically have a very specific memory of Tommy and I getting together to shoot something at the end of my freshman year when I had broken some records and Sterling Sharp had broken some records, and we kind of had our first time together at any length shooting something like this. So we have known each other a very long time, and thank goodness have learned to and gotten to know his family over a period of time, and then now working together for 30 plus years for me.
Yep. So your first impression was, this is the legend right here.
Oh yeah, well that, and he was already very successful in banking. So despite the fact that I thought I would play in the NFL for 20 plus years and never have to go work another day in my life, I was key to those who were successful around the program moving forward in whatever career that they chose. I knew Tommy was a big deal in banking, and then actually, I can't remember the exact year, Tommy, but it might have been it was probably after I was finished done playing. He transitioned into the insurance business as well, and made a name for himself and then some after that.
For sure.
Very impressive guy.
All right, Tommy. What was your first impression? When do you first remember meeting Todd, and what was your first impression?
Well, I remember, as Todd said, I remember him certainly as a player, great recruit, a Joe Morrison type of steel out of North Carolina, and we were just blessed to have him. Watched him play and said, the kid's got some talent, And I do remember when he started setting records and all, we had the thing. We were sitting in the bleachers, I think it was, and we were doing a little deal there. And on my wall in my office at home now, I have a picture of Freddie Ziegler, Sterling Sharp, Todd Ellis, and me.
Oh, wow.
And these guys, meaning Sterling and Todd, broke all of our records. And so I see that all the time when I go in my office because it's right behind my chair. And I kind of look at the wall and all that kind of mess, and it's pretty cool. But also, as Todd says, I have a lot of respect for him. When he got out of the pros, he called me. We sat down and talked in my office about the future, and he wasn't really asking for advice. We were just talking about, going to law school, other things, and he was a very inquisitive guy, wanted to know about banking and all that. And I said, gosh, go to law school, and he did, and he's been very successful.
So
I would also add,
recommended that he go to law school.
Pardon me?
You recommended
Well,
that he go to law
his
school.
mind was made up when he came to see me,
Okay.
and I think I more or less sort of confirmed it or whatever,
Okay.
But we had a good conversation. And but our families we're good friends, really good friends, fraternity brothers, and I just respect him a lot, and I enjoy working with him. And I would say to him, and also Bob Fulton, who I worked with for 23 years, and Charlie Mack for a little bit. I appreciate him letting me be myself on the broadcast because he's kind enough to laugh about it, but he's much more of a professional than I am. I don't claim to be, and I get excited. I'm supposed to be the fan, and I am, and he takes it very well. And but I also laugh and tell him that it's a good thing I'm there because I help him be better because I add some of the flair to it that he doesn't have. But I also want to congratulate him because he just got recognized by ESPN to be the #1 college football announcer in America.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I believe Tommy has been hit with another fake Facebook post.
Gotcha.
I know that you'll be shocked by this, that
Gotcha.
on social media is not always true.
It's not?
But
Dang.
I believe it too.
the people that posted it, the fact that they took the time to do that for whatever reason, for clickbait, I'm very impressed with that.
I think that's a big compliment to you.
Like
quite
our
honestly.
picture,
Yeah.
I have that photograph of us as well. I'm going to put that on my wall until somebody tells me I didn't get it. Don't you?
I don't
No,
blame
that
you.
you're right. If they felt like that was going to draw clicks,
Yeah,
you ought to be named for real.
it's crazy.
The college announcer
nuts.
of the nation. So, Todd, why did you decide to go to law school?
I had always thought that I could be an advocate in some role or another. I was pretty good on my feet. And Tommy can tell you that being the quarterback at a major university, even in the days when we were playing, when there was less media or less instant media all the time, we were relied upon a lot to be the voices of the team and speak for the team and be a leader. And Joe Morrison, who I played for, was definitely not a talker, and so the media relied on me a lot. I think that portion of being on my feet, then my dad was in law enforcement when I was growing up. Those two things, I thought, I don't know if I want to practice law right away, but I know I want to get a law degree. And man, you marry a North Myrtle Beach girl, you go to law school in South Carolina, you're not leaving. And between that and calling the games with Tommy and our crew, who we love, it's been a great career. But that part of it, I think, the two things, my father, and then being in that role of, I think I can stand up in front of folks in a trial or in that setting and be an advocate for people. And I have really, really enjoyed it. Everything is different all the time.
Yeah.
It's like your days at United Way. Somebody's coming with another issue you got to solve, and nothing's the same every day.
That's for sure.
And I appreciate that in my law practice.
And that was one thing that I was thinking about when I was preparing for this, is it something that all three of us have in common, is that we are there for people in tough times. Tommy, you're there through your insurance business to help protect people in tough times. Todd, you're there to defend people in tough times, and we are there to get them the assistance that they need in tough times. So what makes you motivated to serve people that way?
Well, I can tell you that, in this state, obviously there are extremes in political views, and this has nothing to do with political views, but I'm a big believer in that a lawyer's job is to look through the process and find out where justice is, who might be being done wrong, and otherwise be an advocate for those people who cannot fight for themselves. And every day, and believe me, I represent corporations and small business people and people who've been hurt or someone else who's had a terrible thing, a variety of folks. But that theme goes through it all the time, and it is, in a lot of ways, what United Way is. I take people, find out a resource and or an issue, and try to help them through a tough time.
Yeah.
And it is nice to do that. I'm a big believer in that. It also makes me, like Tommy and I talk about this all the time. I mean, when we go to Atlanta and we're in Mercedes-Benz Stadium 2 weeks from now, and they kick that ball off, it doesn't pass us that we are the luckiest guys in the world to do that we love it. And so my law practice is kind of the same way. I meet people every day that go, I am so glad I've not had to navigate that process there that they've gone through during this time. It makes me more thankful for the things that I've got. Mm-hmm. And then when you can help, just like United Way, it's a heck of a feeling.
Yeah. Tommy, what about you? How do you look at the insurance business from the standpoint of, you're there for people, you're there for corporations to try to provide them that protection, and that's serving them too.
It is, and I did the same thing in the banking world as well, but it was a different type of situation because you were lending money to people mainly and helping them and earn some interest and things like that, so on deposits, but it was totally different. Insurance is a different world from banking, mm-hmm. and it's really interesting. I tell our guys all the time, stop selling insurance, start helping your clients be successful.
Yeah.
And I think if you come at it that way, where you really just get down to what is helping the client, whether it be a personal client or a commercial client or whatever, that's important. From my standpoint, I have always cared about people. I've always had this insatiable desire. All of my profiling says I want to be fair to people. And I think that's driven me. I have a strong faith, but I think overall insurance is one of those things that no one likes paying a premium.
Yeah.
We understand that. I don't like paying a premium either. But insurance is that intangible thing you buy that you only need it when you really need it.
Right.
And that's when you have to respond. And I think a great example of that was 2015 when the floods hit Columbia so badly. We had to really spend time with our people to make sure psychologically and emotionally they were okay, because they had issues with their homes and their families, but we had all these clients calling us, and some of them were not happy. I mean, it was some pretty difficult conversations and some difficult words used at our people who a week before everybody was fine.
Right.
And they really we had to work through that for them. In multiple ways we did it. And that's when you're needed, when you really want to help those people, mm-hmm. myself included, all of us when we have issues like that, whether it be a wreck, a flood, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that in our Asheville, North Carolina office.
Oh, I bet.
During Helene up there.
Sure.
Our people up there really, really got concerned and felt badly, so badly we had to give them some help in all some different things, because it's very difficult in a time like that when you see people dying, you see people losing all their belongings. It's a different world.
It is a different world, yeah.
But it's when we're supposed to respond.
Right. And I like what you said too about don't just sell insurance, help people be successful.
Yep.
Because that's kind of what we've tried to do at United Way recently.
Mm-hmm.
is you absolutely need to meet people where they are, no matter what that crisis is. Mm-hmm. But how do you then help them and give them the tools that they need, or help remove barriers that are keeping them from being successful? Because that's really what we all want. We want people to be successful. We want them to thrive. And I think maybe that's what all three of us do from our various angles. Yeah,
there's no question. And watching the services that and getting more involved in United Way over the last couple of years, and being more settled in my career with my family and watching what our community needs, that's exactly what you do. You guys look for areas and needs around the community, find the resources that you may have used 3 years ago. And by the way, this person went and created this organization, mm-hmm. and they worked just on that, hook them up with them together. And, there was an article in the paper today about another group that you all are taking on to assist in regard and being a part of. And I think that's a great skill set, and one that has needs in every community. Who can put the people together, and that's what United Way does.
That's what we try to do. So in this community specifically, we are very fortunate to have the flagship university of the state system here. Mm-hmm. Huge economic driver. And we've talked on this podcast with other guests about the effect that a spirit of community service has on overall economic growth, that there's a correlation there. So how do you feel that the university contributes to that? How do they, we know it's an economic driver. How do you feel that it contributes to that spirit of community service? Because everybody that we've had on the podcast so far agrees we really have a community here that steps up. They stepped up in 2005 with Katrina refugees. They stepped up in 2015 with the floods. They stepped up with the pandemic. They've stepped up with Helene relief. But how do you all see the university playing into that?
Well, I think from my standpoint, I've been president of our Chamber of Commerce twice, and back in those days, we had a town and gown issue here. I felt very strongly about it. I don't think the university was engaged in the community. Mm-hmm. I went to the president at that time and chatted with him about it, and he asked me to lead a delegation to the University of Texas and the University of Wisconsin to see how they did it, which we did. At the same time, Charlottesville, Virginia was having the same issue. And so this is not uncommon to have a major university sitting in a town, a city rather, and there be some issues there. But I think since that time, which was some time ago, all the presidents we've had and the top administration and the board, they all understand that you can't be isolated as a university sitting in a big old college town and not be engaged. And I think they know they're an economic economic engine, but at the same time, we've broken down the walls, and I don't think there are any walls here anymore. The university is involved. But at the same time, I think it's incumbent upon us as business leaders and United Way, we need to continue to focus on that and get them involved, because many times, like all of us, we get so focused on our own particular careers and things we're doing, we forget. And but I think Harris-Pastitas did a really good job. I think Amaritas is doing a super job there. So we just got to keep moving with it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm really impressed with the fact that, Columbia's unique in a lot of ways. Tommy and I have been all over the country in a lot of college towns, but to have Fort Jackson and the massive impact that has from the military standpoint, the government based here, state capital, and a major university that has grown 30% over the last 10 years, probably student-wise, I think it's gotten more diverse. There are more people with differing backgrounds that therefore can contribute to that process. I think that's what makes Columbia. When I first came here and I was recruited in '85, I never heard of a city that had its major prison on the river. It didn't utilize
Columbus, Ohio. They had that.
Is that right?
Sure did. Yeah, we did this inner city trip up there one time. Well, what's that doing? Then we realized we
weren't the most progressive, but we've become more progressive now, and I think we've integrated the university, the look, the feel, the energy. I mean, look what we've got down on Main Street now, and putting all those people together. The kids in there, and energizes all that process. And Tommy's right, particularly in the last 10, 15 years, it's been a big part of the process. And I don't think Carolina now has anybody who's working for them who doesn't have an eye on how whatever the issue might be to impact the city and our state. They do a much better job with that.
Yeah, I think additionally to that is I think the university and their efforts over there to green up the university and make it look with the trees and all, and make it look just like it's incorporated into the city. I think they've done a fabulous job with that, fabulous job with it. And I think I tell people often when they come for games, some of our friends out of town and all, I said, they talk about Columbia and they go, I didn't realize it was this big. I didn't realize it was this pretty. And I said, look, we're a big old college town with a state capitol flopped down in the middle of it, because that's what we are in many respects. It's no disrespectful comments about manufacturing, anything. But this time of year, when you got 80,000 people coming in here on weekends, and the students having an impact. I walked into a little restaurant yesterday, and I I was working a little bit late, and we were talking a little bit, and I said, how about the students coming back? He said, we did $9,000 yesterday. And he said, we hadn't done that since they left.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, see it all over.
Yeah. So it's tremendous impact. One other thing, too, is when we have this competition study we do, like Midlands Business Leadership Group, and we roll that out to everybody, right. Look at all the cities we compare ourselves to. There's not a one in there that has a major university in the middle of it and a fort right. incorporated in.
Yeah.
And that has a geographic geography, that we have, meaning located close to the beach, to the mountains. There's nothing like Columbia. And I just think if I had to put some money on it, I'd buy some stock in Columbia for the next 10 to 15 years. No question about it.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had some lively discussion about that at MBLG, haven't we?
Oh, we have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about outside of football. Who have some of your major influences been in your life?
Well, one is Tommy Suggs for me, and it's no kidding. I was when you're about to be a college graduate and you don't know whether your career in football is going to end that day or a couple days or a couple years away, and you know you're going to come back to a great community. I didn't have everything right. I wasn't the smartest guy in the world, but I knew enough that I was going to live the majority of my life as a professional in something in some city that I wanted to live in. Mm-hmm. Tommy's been a big influence on me because, first of all, I trust him to ask him questions. He also gives good advice, sometimes unsolicited.
I knew you'd say that before I did. It is true.
But so Tommy's been a big part of that. And then there are a lot of lawyers and judges that I've dealt with. That's one thing about the bar in South Carolina. Although I generally have practiced by myself for the majority of my career because I have these outside interests in football and some of the things that I've done over my time frame, it's hard to have a lot of partners. Yeah. So I rely on other judges and other practices and other lawyers to, help me develop as a lawyer over that period of time. And there's been plenty of those. One of them is our good friend Johnny Gregory, who's Tommy's age and a teammate of his, but has become a good friend of mine as well. Was also a lawyer and relied on him a lot during that time frame. But young lawyers, old ones, I learned from them all the time. That's why they call it a practice. But
yeah.
I am blessed to have been around good people. There's not been a shortage of people around me, thank goodness, that I, in many levels on different areas, that I could ask of something that I could get some great advice on, and those people have been in my life, particularly in broadcasting as well. Liz McMillan, our friend and our producer on the broadcast, has been one of my dear friends for many, many years, and I rely on her a lot professionally too, and everything else socially, and I'm blessed.
Tommy, how about you?
Well, first, Todd's been too kind to me about being a mentor for him, but if I was, it's because I had a good student. Yeah. I think I go through my life, and I'm gonna write a book one day, and I got a ghostwriter set up already. We were laughing about it last night. Jane and I were over dinner with some people, and Jane says, "Tell them what the name of the book's gonna be." And it's going to be, he doesn't look like a quarterback, but give him a chance. And but in the book, what I'm working on is how did I get to where I am? And candidly, I don't know. I won't bore you with my life business-wise, but the one thing I found was pretty common about me was I always found those people that I felt were better than me, smarter than me, and I could look up to, and I could talk to them and ask them questions. And all through my life in the business world and also the personal world, I've had those people that I go to. They don't even know I'm coming to them. Mm-hmm. They don't have a clue. I'm just hanging with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm just watching how they dress, how they act, what they say. And I still do that to this day. And my business world in the banking side, John Warren, who was a CEO at SCANA, was tremendous to me because he told me back in the non-technology days, he said, "Tommy, you need to always write a personal handwritten note." Mm-hmm. And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
And to this day, it makes an even larger impression on people that you take the time to do that instead of sending a quick email. John Lumpkin was chairman of the board and CEO at South Carolina National, which was my first banking job. Tremendous impact on me. I can tell you a funny story. David Rockefeller was in town one time, and Mr. Lumpkin called me and asked me if I wanted to come and meet a friend of his. I go up to the boardroom, and all the executives are lined up, and here I am, a little young whippersnapper, probably 30 years old at the oldest, maybe late 20s, and I had on a brown sport coat, a brown check sport coat, which was ugly, and brown pants, and they all had on dark suits like they were going to a funeral. Well, I didn't know this guy was coming. So he walks in. Mr. Lumpkin says, "I'd like for everybody to meet my good friend David Rockefeller." So he walks down the line, and I'm the third one. He gets to me, and he says, "David, this is Tommy Suggs. He's one of our really bright young executives." And David Rockefeller looks like this and goes, "I can see." And, I learned right then, you don't wear brown check sport coats, to work. Now that was before now. But Bob McNair, former governor, I would go to his office and sit down with him, and he would tell stories. And some I can't tell on here because they weren't nasty. They were just how things got done in the state at the time and how he got he and Coach McGuire got the ports opened back up in South Carolina when the longshoremen were on strike. And it's just, I learned from those people.
Yeah. And
so to this day, I have them too out there. Our friend Johnny Gregory, he's the one that told me I should marry my wife because I didn't want to die in a bathtub by myself, And I went, that's not a bad idea. That's not bad. It's not a bad thought. I think I will. So anyway, I don't know. But anyway, just hanging with good people.
It is interesting, the power of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're telling them live on the air as it's going by in front of your eyes, Todd, or whether you're listening at the feet of somebody that you're just learning from. It always amazes me how stories can impact people.
I'll tell you, excuse me, but one of my friends and is a tremendous philanthropist, not in this state, but he's given a lot of money at the university, told me one time, I said, "What do you tell young people when they come to you and ask for advice when they go into a new job?" He said, "I tell them to find the best person there and do everything they tell you and ask you to do." And that's kind of what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tommy and I, not everybody's had access to people that we've had.
Right.
There's no question. Now, we've worked for it, but we had a huge advantage. And right around the time I went and saw Tommy, another lawyer friend of mine in town, before I was deciding to go to law school, set it up, and I went and spoke. Went up to the Palmetto Club and had lunch with Alex Sanders, the great former judge and lawyer in South Carolina. Is one of the greatest storytellers I've ever heard. But, he told me 2 or 3 anecdotes there about being a lawyer and got my interest up over that period of time. And you can really inspire people. And one thing as professionals, particularly at our age now, if you ask for help generally, and I don't mean necessarily financially, but if you say, how do you do it? How did you do it? What's your job like? How can I take myself to the next level? Most of those people are absolutely willing to do that and talk about that process.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Oh,
and
sure.
I wish there was a way, maybe that's something your group can look into as well. I know you do a lot of mentoring issues now or giving people access to, whether it's professionals or healthcare people or people that need. I think a lot of people could be inspired by those types of things and, as you say, stories.
Yeah, yeah. We ought to have you all come talk to our Young Men United group.
We'd like that.
There's a lot that you could share with them, I think, and really inspire those young men.
We'd
love that. Yeah.
Let's see here. So tell us a lesson that you have learned as an athlete that you wish everybody could learn.
I think from my standpoint, and I'm sure when Todd finished, I may add some more. But I think there's nothing beats hard work and putting the time in. And I see that now. I see people using AI, using all, which is fine. But sometimes they're looking for the shortcuts, and they're not putting in the time. And I think you can do both probably with AI, but regardless, I think it's hard work. Because we go to practice. We would practice Saturday, I guess it was, and we'll go a lot more before the season starts. And you talk to the coaches, and they talk about, it always gets down in one shape or another to how hard that kid works.
Yeah, there's nothing beyond the grind.
Yeah, when they leave, the coach would leave at 9 o'clock at night, and the kids, the great ones, on the field practicing.
They keep going.
They come early in the morning. They're in the weight rooms, that kind of stuff. And so they're committed and they work hard. And normally, to me, that's the thing that got to me the most. And I hope I've transitioned that into my business and personal life. And I think it is. I think I'm a pretty hard worker.
Two things, without a doubt. I said it almost from the day that I finished playing ball, which was, number one, not succumbing to being overwhelmed with time management issues. So football taught us so much how we're going to manage our school, how we're going to manage practice, how we're going to manage our relationships, our family, all those things. You had really no choice. Some people, as we all know, crumble in that process early on and don't handle that. It taught me to have pretty good time management and not feel like a calendar filled with multiple issues is going to take me down. And I took that definitely into my life and in my career. And the next one is that Tommy will tell you that most of our stories relate not to personal triumphs on the field or in athletics, but the feeling you had with obtaining a group goal, having a group of people work tremendously hard, like we're seeing right now in August, for a single goal, to have ups and downs throughout the year and then reach that goal or fall short or learn from each other. There's really never a replacement of that. I could probably, that's the toughest thing why athletes have a problem transitioning into a different world. It's not because they want the personal glory. It's because if you've ever ridden on a bus to play 80,000 in front of 80,000 people with a group of guys that are underdogs in the game with everything against you and overcome that, there's no feeling like that in the world. And I think that applies. The most joy I've gotten in life are overachievements with a group of other people.
I think in that regard too, the one word, we have four values in the Carolinas that I install: professionalism, relationships, trust, and consistency. And I think by far the biggest one for us is trust. And you learn that in athletics. I got to trust the guy by me, because if I don't, I'm gonna get killed as a quarterback. They've got to trust me. And when you go in that back when I played, when you went in that huddle, there were 22 eyes looking at you, and they had to trust that you could perform and the play you were calling was true, and they could not see fear in your eyes. They had to see confidence. And so I see it in our world now, in the insurance world, because we provide a policy to someone. They've got to trust that it is what they need, and they got to trust that we know that.
Right.
And our people have to trust the teammate in the next office that they're doing the job. So I think trust was something I learned in athletics. I've taken it to my business career, my personal life. I just think it's the biggest word out there, probably.
So 2 things to wrap up with. One, what do you think nonprofits are doing well here, and where do you think we can improve?
Specifically with United Way or overall?
Overall.
I think, unlike United Way, a lot of the nonprofits I run into who ask for help or suggestions or otherwise, I think they're afraid. They are too scattered, too many issues, are not focused enough on maybe a single reason to produce and to assist. United Way has all those resources. I don't feel that way at all. But I think the nonprofits I've run into a lot, not that they have bad positions that they're taking, I don't think they're focused on a particular area in which they could give the most for. And hiring young professionals. I think Tommy's point is you always have to have somebody up front that's pretty darn impressive if you want to give to an organization like that.
Yeah.
You've got to pick your people right if you want to do well in any business, but certainly in the nonprofit business.
For sure.
And I think that just because a person says there's a need here doesn't mean that they need to be the face of that organization if you want to grow it.
Yeah, good point.
I think from my standpoint, being around a good while and watching everything happen, I think there are a couple things. One is there are so many issues, and there's so many people that care deeply about those issues. Mm-hmm. I wish there were a little more coordination because I see duplication. Yeah. And I think from that standpoint, are we getting, as a community, are we getting the best bang for the buck?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we are.
Yeah.
And I wish, of course, we do have somewhat of a confusing political environment here too. And if you go into some of the other cities in our state, they have one county and all that. You know, it works a little differently, and that would help some. But that's not the issue. I think that I think we could collaborate a little more, consolidate a little more, and that's all very challenging to get done from a nonprofit standpoint. So, but other than that, I think we're doing well, and I think United Way has led in that regard. Should continue to lead. And I know they will. So I'm very, very bullish on Greater Columbia. Very bullish.
And then last question: what's your advice to the business community here around community service?
From my standpoint, I see. You may differ, but I see pretty good engagement from the business community. Yeah. I think some of the key leaders are still active in it, still committed to it, very involved in it, and they understand how a community with their involvement and their commitment is not only good for their business and but also good for the community, which ends up being good for their business. Mm-hmm. So you get down to it, a lot of it will come back to them from a return on investment standpoint, and that's kind of what it is to a large degree. Yeah. But you still want to create a place and have a place where you can raise a family, you can have a good time, you can make money. All those things work, and I feel like the business community is pretty engaged myself.
Yeah. I think so too.
I haven't worked in a lot of large companies that have had many, many employees, a law firm of 25 people at one point, and certainly, but I touched a lot of those groups over the period of time.
Sure.
And what I see all the time is their employees, the benefits they get from participating in outside projects for nonprofits. I think employers missed the boat on that completely. There's a completion of project. In my practice, cases go on for years, and sometimes you feel like you're never wrapping anything up. In the business world too, I see employees feel like this is just an ongoing process, another week. But if you give them a project centered around a nonprofit and a goal, they benefit from that. I think there's team building there, and then they're out in the community. To Tommy's point, it always comes back to you. Somehow you meet a potential client, you remember because you met somebody else.
Right.
You're out there again assisting. You can be the next leader when somebody asks you to lead one of those groups going forward. So I think I would tell employers that your employees are going to benefit from this greatly if you go do it.
For sure. Employee engagement, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Well, I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed this discussion. Thank you both very, very much for taking the time to be with us today. And again, we've got our Centennial T-shirts for you guys.
Yes.
And
swag is always good.
Swag is always good. Wear it with pride. And thank you all for joining us again on another episode of A Century of Service. Please subscribe, comment, and share on your favorite podcast platforms. And please consider joining us in our 100th anniversary celebration by volunteering or donating at ua.org. Thanks very much.